Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents 23-7, Pelican Bay Prison and the Rise of Long-Term Solitary Confinement, by Keramet Reiter. Narrated by C.S.E. Cooney. Introduction. When Prison is Not Enough. On August 12, 2015, Steve Nolan was listening to the radio when mention of a melee in a California prison caught his attention. He rarely thought about California prisons anymore. Decades had passed since he spent every Sunday shuttling between visits with his brother Cornell at San Quentin and his brother W.L., a founding member of the Black Guerrilla family, at Soledad State Prison. Cornell served his time and eventually was released, but W.L. had been shot to death on a California prison yard 35 years before, when Steve was a junior in college. In the intervening years, Steve had established a successful career selling medical devices. He had never set foot in prison except to visit his brothers. But as he listened to news of the melee, he heard a name he recognized. The one prisoner killed in the fight was his brother W.L.'s old radical buddy, Hugo Yogi Pinnell. I asked Steve, "When you heard about Yogi, did it bring back memories of W.L. and—" Instant flashback. Instant. I fell off my chair, literally fell off my chair. And I said, "Yogi, still fighting like a young warrior out there." 71 years old. 71. By then they should have had compassion and let him go, but these guys, people don't understand these guys. They don't forget. Prison officials never forgot that Pinnell was one of 6 prisoners accused of slitting the throats of prison guards while allegedly helping George Jackson try to escape from San Quentin Prison in August 1971. Ever since that day, before, during, and after his trial as one of the San Quentin 6, Pinnell had been in solitary confinement. 45 years. 25 of them in California's notorious Pelican Bay Security Housing Unit, SHU. Pinnell remained in solitary confinement not because of the San Quentin 6 accusation, but because every few years prison officials refiled documents, reestablishing the allegation that he was a leader of the Black Guerrilla family prison gang. In 2014, he was denied parole for the 9th time, even though the parole board noted he had not been charged with a serious rule violation in 30 years. In 2015, things changed. Prison officials, who make such decisions freely, transferred Pinnell from Pelican Bay into the general prison population at California State Prison, Sacramento, as part of an effort to reduce California's use of long-term solitary confinement. In the Sacramento prison, Pinnell hugged his mother for the first time in 45 years. A few weeks later, 2 prisoners in their late 30s, both with histories of committing assaults, approached Pinnell on the prison yard and stabbed him to death. Pinnell's lawyer, Keith Watley, said he had asked the prison system to take steps to protect his client, who was a marked man, threatened by prison gangs. Yogi Pinnell lived through the entire story of the supermax, or supermaximum security prison. He was part of the event that inspired its creation. He spent most of his life in one, and he witnessed the first efforts at reform, efforts that led to his own death. At the center of this story is California's Pelican Bay State Prison, a windowless concrete bunker with hundreds of cells designed for keeping prisoners in total solitary confinement, not for days or weeks, as with previous solitary cells, but for years. The Bay opened in 1989. By 2010, more than 500 prisoners had lived in continuous isolation there for more than 10 years, a decade without a handshake or a hug. Not one of those 500 was held because of a specific crime committed inside or outside prison. Instead, officials alleged that they were all dangerous gang affiliates based on their tattoos, books, letters, or drawings. No judge or jury ever reviewed the decision to place any of these men in solitary, or the decision to keep them there. How did isolation like this become routine practice in California and across the United States? First, no one was watching. Prison officials envisioned the first sleek, automated supermaxes and sited them in out-of-the-way places. In the 1980s, rural towns such as Crescent City, California, located on the Oregon border, vied for the chance to become home to one of the many new prisons popping up all over the United States. Between 1972 and 2007, U.S. incarceration rates quintupled, a phenomenon that has been dubbed mass incarceration. During these years, California's prison population soared to the largest in the United States. Even after Pelican Bay opened in Crescent City, neither citizens nor local legislators knew what kind of prison had been built in their backyard. No politician took credit for imposing its harsh conditions of isolation. This was a surprisingly overlooked political opportunity in the era of penal populism, the modern heyday of tough-on-crime stances. Supermajorities of California voters approved billions of dollars in public bonds to finance new prisons, and legislators and governors competed to look the toughest on crime. Today, Pelican Bay is an icon of this mentality, but in 1989, it was functionally invisible. This book introduces a prison official you have never heard of, Carl Larson, who told me that he designed Pelican Bay. Administrative discretion, the supermax story reveals, is even more powerful than penal populism. No one was watching when prison officials opened Pelican Bay in 1989, but everyone had been watching 18 years earlier. On August 21, 1971, George Jackson, best-selling author and founding member of the Black Guerrilla family, then a behind-bars affiliate of the Black Panthers, was shot to death on the San Quentin prison yard. Prison officials said Jackson had been trying to escape from the isolation unit where he was housed. 3 guards and 2 white prisoners also died in the alleged escape attempt. 2 weeks later, prisoners at New York's Attica Correctional Facility rioted, taking control of the prison for 4 days. The state police effort to retake the facility killed more than 40 people. In the face of this organized radical violence, prison officials knew that prison was no longer enough. To them, George Jackson proved that new times required new tools of control. At first, the prisoners alleged to have helped Jackson escape were locked down, isolated in their cells for months, then years. The last time prisoners in the United States were systematically isolated in this way was in the mid-19th century, in the first penitentiaries in Pennsylvania and New York. In 1842, Charles Dickens famously denounced this extended isolation as worse than any torture of the body. And in 1890, the U.S. Supreme Court noted that the practice had been abandoned as barbaric. When George Jackson died in 1971, a few hundred beds designed for temporary solitary confinement were scattered throughout 6 of California's 12 prisons. Temporary was a flexible concept. In practice, prisoners would spend 29 days in these units, be released for a day to avoid exceeding the legal limit of 30 days, and then be returned to isolation. Just 20 years later, California had 1,056 cells designed for long-term.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?